We begin every class with a review. So for those of you who are new, we're going to be offering a lot of information into a short period of time in a meditation that may seem very new to you. So just do the best you can with it. And primarily we're here today to practice mindfulness in motion, but we just start just with a meditation sitting so that we can all center and just collect our energies that way. So if you can find a comfortable sitting position, one that makes you feel alert and open and energized, but one in which you can also relax. So if you're already feeling a little bit uncomfortable, we're going to be here for quite a few more minutes. It's good to shift now. Okay. And then I invite you to close your eyes. This is just a way to help connect inward with your experience. If the eyes closed for whatever reason isn't right for you, it's also okay to open your eyes and just have your gaze down a few feet or so in front of you and keep your eyes still on one spot so you're not wandering around with your eyes. And see if with closed eyes, the eyes can also be still, settled behind the lids. Notice the feeling of your buttocks touching down against the chair or the cushion or whatever you may be sitting on. There's a sensation at the points of contact. See if you can feel into that sensation, whatever it is. And notice the feeling of the hands resting however and wherever that might be. Noticing the sensation in the hands, maybe a tingling or heat, some kind of energy. Just to feel it. And then open your awareness up to sounds. The obvious sound of my voice, but also quieter, more distant, subtle sounds. See if you can listen not so much with your ears, but with your entire awareness. Notice how sounds are just heard. There's no going after sounds. There's nothing to fix or change. There's just an awareness of sound. And you can relax into that awareness. Settle into just hearing. And with the same open, spacious awareness, notice also the physical sensations in the body. Some of these may be pleasant, some may be unpleasant, others may be neutral. Just let them all be perceived and received as they are. Opening to what is in the body. Perhaps awareness notices the sensations associated with breath. Notice if your mind just then went and locked in on breath. And see if you can unlock. And just keep awareness open. Knowing that it can, but doesn't have to, include the sensation of breath. You might also notice liking certain things more than other things. You may notice pushing away with your mind the things you don't like and trying to gravitate toward or hold on to the things you like. You may not notice this at all. It's probably happening on a very subtle level. You might become aware of thoughts that appear in the mind. Notice how the thoughts make the body feel. Not important what the content of the thoughts are. They're always going to be about something that has passed, even if it has just passed, or something that has yet to come. Let's practice being aware of what's here in the moment right now. Body sensations, sounds, certain wanting or not wanting. Letting the mind just be open. Letting awareness be spacious, like a blank canvas that various images or colors are placed upon. Rather than considering yourself the person who's standing looking at the canvas, know that you are the canvas. The canvas is the same canvas, regardless of what is placed upon it. If you notice yourself getting stuck on one thing or another thing, just notice what stuck feels like. When stuck lets go, be aware of the next thing awareness notices. No thing is any more worthy of your attention than anything else. Whatever is happening now in this moment is what you're meditating on. Hold on to nothing. Notice everything. Letting it all flow and letting it all go. The mind open and aware. Relax into the experience of now. You are not the experience. You are only aware of the experience. Difficulty feels like this. Restlessness feels like this. Letting go feels like this. Sleepiness feels like this. Whatever's here, no problem. We're going to transition silently into our next meditation, which is going to be the same practice while walking outside. So the eyes will be open and there's more sensory experience to be aware of. But see if you can keep awareness open so that it takes in everything. The eyes create a lot of stimulation, a lot of eye candy. And it's very easy to get pulled into a craving or a lust for the beautiful, for the pleasant. So just watch for that. Just watch what it feels like when the eyes attach to something delicious and it wants to linger there. It's not bad or wrong, but see if awareness can feel what that feels like. Because often when we sit and we meditate, unless we're fortunate, there isn't a ton of pleasantness to want to grasp onto. Sometimes the mind ventures off into fantasy, and that creates a lot of pleasantness, and we want to hang out there. Or some people go off into a nice bliss state, and they kind of want to linger there, and they're not really aware. But when you walk, there's usually a lot of beauty. And it's a little bit easier to get caught up in the holding on. And that's fine. I'm just kind of foreshadowing it, so that if you notice that happening, and it may not, that you can be aware of it, not to judge or make it wrong, but just to notice what it feels like in your being. We're always looking for the ways that we create our own suffering. And the ways that we create our own suffering is attaching onto the things that are pleasant and wanting to hold on to them, and pushing away the things that are unpleasant and wanting to get rid of them as fast as possible. So the more we can bring mindfulness to this very normal, natural tendency, the more we can see it, the more we can interrupt it and create peace for ourselves. Because ultimately, when you really start to pay attention, you notice that the holding on really doesn't feel good. Initially, it feels like it's pleasant, but there's that gripping that is a contraction in our mind and in our heart and in our body, which creates suffering. And it's very similar to the gripping that doesn't want and pushes away. So just notice judging, liking, not liking, perceptions, wanting to interpret, wanting to make sense of, all very natural phenomena. But see what it feels like to bring the spaciousness of awareness that we just had in sitting out into the world. So that you're aware that ears are hearing, you're aware that eyes are seeing, you're aware that smell is happening, you're aware that the body is moving and the sensations that are making as the body's moving. You're aware of breath, you're aware of feet touching the ground, you're aware of the joints. Every moment is a moment to awaken to. Most of the time, we walk from one place to the other, focused on the place where we're going to or the place we just left. So this is just an opportunity to practice the walking for the sake of walking, without any place to go. So stay local. I'm going to ring a bell, and when you hear the bell, quietly come back in and take your seat. Okay? I'll ring the bell and we'll all stand up. And if you intend to put shoes on to do your walking, put your shoes on with mindful awareness. Feel the feel of your shoe in your hand, the movements that you're making. Everything that you do right now, do it with awareness. Is in the back, and it's on the right hand side. Thank you. least 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
just out of curiosity, being totally honest, who had a different quality of attention coming back here after the bell rang? Somebody say something about what was different?
Thinking about where I was going.
Say that again?
Thinking about where I was going instead of what I was being.
I was monitoring things like my steps and how I walk until I met some of your neighbors who were distressed that you released the zombie apocalypse. And it changed my consciousness because I thought that they would be amused and they were upset at this new strange thing. And when I just went like this, that seemed to upset them even more. So.
I thought the same thing, and this is my neighborhood, so I'm not sure how they'll react to me now.
Get whatever you want, just upstairs.
So when you saw people that you knew were from this neighborhood or believed were from this neighborhood, this being your neighborhood, did you notice thoughts? Did you notice anything?
I was laughing because I could see their face, and it was, they were concerned. Which I wouldn't have expected, but I think when you're on the other side, it does, because I'm a Walking Dead fan.
Well, what struck me is, I guess I did a contrast in my head versus like I remember like when I was a kid and I saw something, like the first time I saw Hare Krishnas in Greenwich Village, and I was like, this is amazing. Wow, look at this. Now, I don't like this. You're bothering me. It's like, I want to check this out. I'm curious.
Should have been prepared. Should have said it was a flash mob.
I didn't raise my hand initially, but I think about it, and I did have a greater attention. What I experienced kind of was like a perfect peace, like as if nothing could touch my state, and the peace was kind of, it got intense to a point where I started, had a little bit of emotional uplift, and I felt total joy. As cars were coming by and I saw other people walking by, my consciousness went to that place, and then I was thinking, the challenge is maintaining the peace in the face of chaos. But it was something that it would be great to carry with me in my life, my daily life, because if you can do that if you can carry that peace with you as much as you can in your daily life, then how much more beautiful life could be.
Yeah. That's why I want to introduce walking meditation, because you can, as you had a glimpse of. And the idea with walking meditation, in this particular meditation that I was encouraging, is not to walk like a zombie, but just to walk. Just to walk at a normal pace and just be present to the experience of walking instead of planning and thinking and judging and hurrying and feeling tense and worrying and all the things that occupy us when we're in transitions. I notice it a lot when I teach yoga, that I can kind of tell, I probably can't, but I think I can somewhat tell when people are being mindful, when they're practicing. I watch people's breathing and I can kind of gauge if they're present, maybe. And I notice that even the people who are super present in a pose, as soon as that pose is over and they have to transition to the next one, it's like it's a commercial break. And suddenly, you know, all the awareness is out the window, all the breathing is out the window. It's like, okay, this is a timeout. I don't have to be present now. I really see how it's in those transitions between things that demand our attention where we give ourselves permission to get lost. And what I want to encourage you to do is to recognize that every moment of your life is an opportunity to be present. There are times when you will need to think, but they're few. And you make those times, you know, where you set aside however much time you need, and you take care of what you need to think about. There's very little planning that needs to be done compared to the amount of planning that gets done. Usually we can plan a 5-minute event for about 4 hours in our mind. So just consider the possibility that when you move throughout your day, everything that you're doing is a meditation. And the most important thing, in my opinion, to be aware of is your mind. So it's not that important that you're seeing your neighbors and, you know, realizing that your neighbors are going to think you're a freak. What's important is to recognize what the mind is doing with that. Do you notice yourself suddenly walking differently because you're worrying about what people will think about you? And then maybe in that moment of noticing what people will think about you, there's an insight of how much of your life is spent modified based on worrying what people will think about you. When you're mindful, you notice what your mind does. You notice what your body feels in reaction to what your mind does. And you notice what things are authentic in your being, what things are joy-producing or peace-inducing, and what things are contracting, what things are stifling, what things cause you to be unhappy. And the more you can pay attention, not just to life and not just to your mind, but especially the interrelationship between life and mind, you learn what works for you, what is skillful, what behavior makes you feel good, what behavior makes your heart open, what behavior produces a sense of ease in your body. And this is something that you can do from one moment to the next, in every moment of your life, even when you're working. When you're answering the phone, answer mindfully. When you're having a conversation, have that conversation. Don't think about your grocery list when you're talking to a customer, because other people will feel it too. If you were here last week, you had a taste of what it felt like to be really heard and really present for someone else, both. And the encouragement is to bring that level of awareness and attention to yourself, because it's so healing. And our minds are naturally scattered into a million things. And we're never present fully to the people that we care about or to the things that we have to do. So driving is another great opportunity for practicing mindfulness. I'm one of those people that tends to speed. And I've become aware that at some point I thought that it felt thrilling to speed. especially when I had a little sports car that went easily 120 miles an hour. Not that I experienced that much. But I notice now, and it's not that I don't do it anymore, because I do, but I notice that when I'm speeding because I'm hurrying, that I'm really tense. It does not feel good. And so one of the things that I have asked of myself for many years now is how to move quickly without hurrying. When I notice that I'm running late, which is also a habit of mine, I can notice that there's a lurching forward, there's a leaning toward, there's that tension of wanting to get where I need to get, and that worry about not getting there fast enough, and all the things that go into the idea that you may be late and the hurrying. Not everybody hurries. Some people, when they feel like they may be late, they're just like, okay, I'll get there when I get there. And I'm working toward that through the awareness of how it feels in my being to be hurrying. And I've noticed more often now that when I'm driving and I'm late, I catch it. I catch what suffering I'm creating for myself. Because I'm going to be late regardless. And I can drive and get there when I get there and be tense the whole time. Or I can drive and get there when I get there and be at ease the whole time. And that's just a choice. And it's only through my mindfulness of the stress that I was causing myself. Now, eventually, my mindfulness will realize this stress enough that I won't be late. But just notice when somebody cuts you off. Notice when somebody honks at you. Notice when the person in front of you doesn't go through the yellow light and you miss it too. Notice when somebody's lost and driving on the freeway 50 miles an hour. You know? It's not about them. Who cares? Thank you to the person going 50 miles an hour for giving me a moment to be present to the way I create my own suffering through my impatience. I noticed when people were filing out of here to go walking, there was a little bit of a backup because people were on the porch collecting their shoes, putting on their shoes, and there was a little bit of a line waiting to leave. And I wished at that moment that I could feel and see what was going on inside of everybody's mind. Because some people I had a sense of what was going on. There was impatience that was registering. And all that's happening is standing. That's what's happening in that moment when you're online. Just standing is happening. But then there's a thought that has something like, why are these people taking so long? Or, geez, or whatever it is. There's some wanting it to be different than it is that makes standing somehow a problem now. And standing is always just standing. If you're on a line, if you're waiting anywhere, standing is standing. Whatever else you add to it is going to make it either a problem or not a problem. So our next practice is standing. The idea being that if you can practice standing meditation today, every time from this point on that you find yourself standing, you'll be in standing meditation. You'll never feel yourself waiting again. Waiting is gone. It's always just standing. Okay? So you can let the eyes close. You might like to soften the knees a little bit so that they're not locked. That can cause tension in the back. And you can just let your arms relax. They can be by your side. They can be clasped behind you, in front of you. Whatever is comfortable for you is fine. See if you can let the floor of your pelvis drop down. And feel the bottoms of your feet on the ground. Maybe there's some energy or some heat or some sensation that you can detect at the feet making contact. Notice whatever tension you may have in your body from standing. Not to make it wrong, not to need to fix it, just to bring your awareness to the experience of tension in the body if it's there. Notice breathing. Perhaps noticing relaxing. Or tightening, or tiredness. Notice if one foot has more weight on it than the other. Notice if the weight is more at the front of the feet or the heels. Or perhaps right in the center. Be aware of sounds or smells. It's also okay to notice thoughts. Just don't let the thoughts take awareness with them. Awareness of thoughts doesn't hook into the thoughts. Stay with what's present. Thought content is never present. Sensations always present. Sounds. Anything that the sense doors experience is happening in the moment. Be aware of that experience. going to lift the arms overhead, and we're going to feel how it feels to do this, hopefully not hitting anyone in the face that's next to you. Maybe keeping the eyes closed and bringing the hands together and lowering them in front of your heart. And then again, noticing how the arms feel moving through space. Notice the sensations in the body. Notice the breath lifting up. Hands together at the heart. Feel when the fingers make contact with each other. And one more time. Bow your chin to your chest. Release the arms down. Bend the knees. And slowly let the crown of your head fall forward toward the ground. Knees softly bent. Just letting your arms hang down in a gentle forward bend. Knees unlocked. Bending at the waist, coming forward with the fingers, relaxing the weight of the head down, feeling the head hanging toward the ground. Now breathing in and breathing out, staying here, and just feeling what it feels like to breathe with your body in this position. And with your chin to your chest, roll yourself up. Let the arms come up again. Feel the sensation. Stay connected to the breath. Stretch up high. And then bring the left arm down by your side. Inhale and reach up through the right arm. Bring your hips to the right and sway your body over to the left. Let that left arm hang heavy like it had a weight suspended from it. Good. Press down into your right foot. Feel the foot on the ground and feel the breath in the body. On an inhale, lift and bring both arms up. Exhale, right arm down. Inhale, stretch up with the left arm. Bring the hips to the left and bend to the right. Press down into the left foot and breathe deeply. What do you feel? What are you thinking? What are you noticing? And inhale, lift up again. Exhale, hands to the heart. Lower the chin to the chest. Release the arms down. Let the weight of the fingertips be heavy, pulling the shoulders down. Bend the knees and fold forward again. Notice if there's judgment. That's fine. I don't hear it, just you do. How does it feel to you? Who suffers from your judgments? Good, and chin to chest, roll up one more time. Reaching arms out and up, big stretch, big breath. Exhale, hands together at the heart. Release the hands down and come back to your seat. Just sit quietly for a moment. So again, with an honest show of hands, who maintain the same level of awareness between the standing and the stretching during that transition to sitting back to your seat. Okay, a few of you. Good. Takes practice. It's just a matter of remembering. Mindfulness itself is not hard. Remembering to be mindful is hard. That's why we practice. The more we practice, the more it stays in our consciousness, and maybe we might remember. The next time somebody pisses us off, instead of responding or reacting, we can be mindful of what it feels like in our bodies to be pissed off and bring our attention where it's most needed, to ourselves. And then once that response within us is met with our kindness and our attention, we're soothed and we can respond in a more skillful way. It just takes remembering, noticing, this is what angry feels like. This is what frustrated feels like. This is what worry feels like. This is what impatience feels like. So that in that moment, you are not impatient. You are a person who is aware of impatience. When mindfulness is absent, you become impatient. You become impatience. It becomes you. It takes over you. It is in charge. You are not. This is why the mindfulness needs to be there, not just when we're sitting and nobody's bothering us and we're in our little meditation room or cushion or wherever we've carved out a place for ourselves to be quiet and sit with ourselves. It's needed out in the world so that we can constantly give ourselves the attention that we need. This is what it feels like right now. Okay, it's okay. That's what your mindfulness is doing all the time. It's kind of saying, yes, it's okay. I can just be with this. I can feel this. I can know this and not have to be taken over by it. Yeah.
I have a question going back to one of your early examples of eating chocolate, for example. And you eat chocolate, and maybe you're not mindful, you just may not feel great, your clothes may not fit after a while. But you become more mindful, you notice your tooth is starting to hurt. And you take it to a step that you have to go to the dentist, you're going to have pain, spend money, you're mindful of how your body feels, the sugar high and low.
Right.
But then something comes up and says, damn, it was worth it. And you override. How do you override the override?
just by continuing to be mindful. Because the piece of you that says it was worth it is the piece of you that is delusional and the piece of you that has craving. And craving, aversion, and delusion really like to trick you. It's like what they say about addicts. You know, not to believe the thoughts in your head that tell you, oh, I can have one more drink and I'll be fine. You know? So you don't have to fix it. Just keep noticing it. When you notice it and notice it and notice it, you're going to start to recognize, oh, this is the little devil that sits on my shoulder called craving. And it wants me to think that it's okay to do X, Y, Z, which actually isn't good for me because it feels good.
So eventually the periods in the action giving into the little devil decrease and become less frequent. You become more mindful and stop it. Don't stop it initially.
Right. Once you become familiar with the tricks that the mind likes to play on you, then it's like, oh, okay, I know what this is. And you don't buy it anymore. You're not a sucker. You know? So I want to introduce one more practice, which is really nice for walking, but it's also nice for all kinds of repetitive motion. Like if you exercise at a gym on a machine that's repetitive, or if you swim, or if you bike, or just for walking. Because sometimes the mind does get scattered, and it's really hard to keep the mind focused on what experience is offering. And so this is just a tool that helps the mind at least not go off in different directions. It's not necessarily aware of all of the conditions available to be aware of, but at least gets you somewhat present. So I'm going to offer it and we're not going to practice it. I'm just going to give it to you. And then you can practice it on your own time. Okay? It's a counting practice. So if you're walking, let's say, you count your steps, but you don't count them 1 to 100 or whatever. The counting goes like this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. When you get to 10, you start with 10, 10, 9, 10, 9, 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way back down to 1. If you lose your way, you start back from 1. If you are not paying attention, you will lose your way. Because it's so automatic to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'll go 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before you know it, you're at 20. Or you're not even counting anymore. And it's okay. It's just a way to keep your mind present with the steps. So when you feel the steps on the ground, with each step, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I do it a lot when I bicycle, like a lot. And it keeps me aware.
I swim and I count, but I count laps. So 1, 2, 3, and then I have a goal.
Yeah.
Do it again, Susan. Which was 1,
Yeah.
2, 1, 2, 3.
You can stand up and practice it in place. You want to? Okay. So we're just going to march in place, basically. And why don't we say it out loud together, all of us? Okay, so we'll kind of go at the same pace. All right, let's begin. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, somebody said 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 9, 10, 9, 8, 10, 9, 8, 7. Now to yourself.
10.
When you get to 1, you can just remain still. So with your eyes closed, you might notice that your mind feels somewhat concentrated. That there was a focusing that took place. Okay, let's take our seats. So now we're going to take a little time out since we're practicing with transitions. And I have a guest tonight that I am really happy to introduce. When this class ends, it is my hope to keep this space open on Tuesday nights for Sangha to meet, for practice to take place. And I will speak more about what will happen after next week. In October, we have a great privilege of having my dear friend Rick Avery coming to teach a new series on compassion. And there's nobody in the world that I would rather take a compassion class from than Rick. He is my teacher and friend and mentor and an ever-present example in my life of compassion. And so he's taken his natural training, his natural ability for compassion, and gotten some serious training in how to teach compassion, and he's going to offer that here starting October. So I'm going to let him come and share a little bit about what that is.
Hi, I'm Rick Avery. Wonderful to see so many people who are eager to hear the Dharma. Susan raves about this group. It's been such a wonderful group. So it's really a privilege to be here. I just want to tell you what I'm about and then perhaps offer it to you if it's something you're interested in. About 3 years ago, the Dalai Lama made a big commitment to trying to get compassion out to the world. And his commitment at that time was that it ought to be taught in a secular manner with no specific religious overtones. So he gave money, which is the first money he's ever given outside of Buddhist needs, to the Department of Neuroscience and Psychology at Stanford. And with the wish to put together a class to teach compassion. And the person who is organizing that and the kind of the founding teacher behind it is Thupten Jinpa, who is the main translator for the Dalai Lama. You may have, if you've ever seen him, you may have noticed this sort of handsome, silver-haired guy that sits next to the Dalai Lama and helps him get the exact English interpretation to what's being said in the situation. Anyhow, he's a brilliant guy, and he, with the people at Stanford, developed this program. And the first wave of teachers I have had the privilege of being a part of. So it's a combination, the actual course, which is a 9-week course, combination of cutting-edge psychological ideas about engendering compassion in daily life, and 2,000-year-old Buddhist teachings on compassion. Kind of a blend of those two types of disciplines. And I would like to offer it to all who are interested in that. And so, without saying a great deal more about the program, I hear that you, as a group, are very into experiential exercises. So I thought we would do one on compassion right now. And so, if you could all relax, be comfortable wherever you are. If you'd like to close your eyes, that's fine. If you'd like to just softly gaze out in front of you, that's also very acceptable. But just find a comfortable place that helps you settle and stabilize the mind. Perhaps it's some points in your body that help you just feel more comfortable and at ease. Perhaps it's your breath. And it is really out of this stillness that all compassion emanates. It is only possible from this point of stillness. And what I'd like you to simply do is remember the last time, maybe it was sometime today, I hope, that you were kind or compassionate to someone. And just recollect what happened, what kind of interaction happened. The nature of compassion is that it's relational. There is an exchange. There is a witnessing. Just think of a kind or compassionate thing that you've done recently. I'm not looking for any heroism, just simple kindness, compassion. And allow yourself to sink into that moment as you remember it. And notice how the body feels. Whatever comes up, without judgment, just noticing. And notice also How does the mind react to having that feeling of kindness perhaps arise, kindness or compassion arise again? Or if there's a resistance to re-experiencing, what does that feel like? And just be with whatever that process is about for you. And this process would be perhaps much more involved process in the class, but because of time constraints here, just if you would gradually bring your awareness back into the room, open your eyes, take them closed, and could anyone just volunteer what kind of body state and or mind states arose for them when they remembered? Yes.
I noticed I had like a smile on my face automatically and like kind of like a warm sensation in my body. As to where we were doing a walking meditation, I felt anxiety and it felt more of a tightening.
Yes.
But this one felt more warm and welcome.
So if there was this literally a warmth in the body. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Laughter. Just first it was a smile, remembering, and then if I had been in private, I would have just gone into.
You would have chuckled.
Just.
Yeah. It would be okay to do it in here, probably.
And all the way to, it's happened to me before, all the way to laughing down to the tears.
Yes.
To the tears come out, and then just continue, and just a real jag.
Yeah. Excellent point, isn't it? That there's this sense of engagement and life, but there's also some kind of sadness or pain in there somewhere. Huh? Is that stretching for you? I'm just asking.
No. It's just It's kind of like when you laugh so hard, you kind of lose control. You kind of lose control, and tears and laughter all
get all mixed up.
Yeah. It just,
well, the reason I was asking is because the study of compassion really has to do with learning about suffering. It's about learning about your own suffering and the suffering of others, and seeing how your own suffering and those of others are so much alike. What you share with all of humanity, maybe all sentient beings. I think that personally. How we suffer together and how we can cope with that. So if you're studying compassion and you take my course, to some extent, you're also going to be studying suffering. And I'm sure that Susan in this class has pointed out how suffering is what the Buddha was about, trying to cope with suffering. So this is just another kind of approach to dealing with the universal problem of suffering. Okay, so let me just say a couple more things about the class, and then I'll let you go on with the rest of your evening. Class is 9 weeks. Because it's you would be my maiden flight teaching this, so I will have to be videoed. The video would be on me; it wouldn't be on you. The people would hear your voices, but they wouldn't be able to identify who you are. If you're uncomfortable about that, that would maybe, a question about whether you would want to do the course. You probably have, and you'll have to sign a form that says it's okay for me to video. And then the other thing is it'll cost $50, and this will actually just cover materials, because I'm going to bring you a whole packet of materials. I'm going to give you CDs that you will be listening to practice the various kinds of meditation we'll be teaching. So it's kind of a big production. And if that's a hardship for anybody, the $50 would be a hardship for anybody, please talk to me and that we'll work it out. Is there anything you'd like to ask me about the course or about me personally? And I'll be happy to answer.
Is there a link or a place if we want to tell other people about the class where we can refer them?
You know, if most of you show up for this class, that's got to be that'll be the limit. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, it would be too unwieldy. Yeah.
So when did we sign up for the class?
You know what I'll do is I won't be able to start this until October 8th. So what I'll do is get an email thread from Susan, if that's okay with you, and I'll send out a reminder, an announcement, kind of a, you know, this is it, this is when it's going to happen, and let you all know. So are all of you on the email thread that Susan had, more or less? Okay. Yes.
Where are you going? Is your class going to be here, or where are you going to do that?
I assume it'll be here.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Same day, time?
Same day and time.
Same day and time,
Yeah.
so everything will be consistent. Yes.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I just signed up for a compassion class that is from the
Reese
same.
Steely.
Right.
Yes.
Is it by you or is it by?
No, that's a colleague of mine.
Oh, great.
Either Bob McClure or
Yeah,
Ed
there's
Harpin.
one on Wednesday night and
Oh,
one on
that'd be
Thursday
Ed's,
night.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But it's if I were to, you know, because I'm signed up for that. If I were to do that and this, would it be?
Probably not. You'll be on every week. There's a sequencing, and the sequencing of what you do is actually quite important.
Mm.
So if you're in one, and it's the same class,
Right.
and the teachers there I know very well. They're wonderful. It would be, you'd be crazy. You know?
Is it the same time?
Yeah.
It's on
Can you
Wednesday.
tell something
Or
about
in October?
Yeah.
Can you tell something about yourself?
Sure. I've been practicing meditation since this is my 30th year of practice. And I've done several long retreats. Some of them I've done with Susan, so I have witnesses. And I'm by trade, I'm a psychotherapist, and been in that line of work for 40 years. And I am also on the faculty at the Department of Psychiatry at UCSD. So that's sort of the formal stuff. What I'd like to say about the compassion part is, I feel like the way I want this class to go is, we're all in the same boat. You know, I'm in there with you. I want to, learn and work on the practices and study the things that need to be studied to open my heart and be open to my suffering and the suffering of others. So that's, on a personal level, that's how I view how I want to teach it. Does that help? Yes.
I probably can't make it October 8th. If I can't make the first class, should I just not take the class and do it at another time?
If you can't make it the first class, probably there's some, wiggle room. After that, attendance is really important because each class in this sequence builds on itself. So there is really a momentum that you gather through this, as you'll see. That's important to have it work.
Question?
Yeah.
Since it's going to be videotaped, is it possible to post those videos on YouTube? For people who miss a class?
If people will, they'll get really sick of looking at my sitting there, blank. I don't know.
You should see the
Yes.
Isn't the upside down photo from one of my earlier YouTube postings that can be worse?
Okay, good. Well, the answer is yes. If I have no technological skills whatsoever, but if I can get assistance with that, I'll do that.
I'm in the process of acquiring those skills, and
Wonderful.
will help you
Wonderful.
if I can.
You will be my guru.
Maybe
Yes.
it's gonna be on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, yes.
Like in this room, will you have a video machine somewhere in the corner, or?
I don't know. I haven't, those logistics I haven't figured out, but it'll be this way, Yeah.
So you can still sit there.
Thank you.
Would you like to be my cameraman?
No.
Same time?
Same time. When do you start here?
7.
Seven, that's fine with me. That's perfect.
How long does each class last?
2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours. One last question, anything? Yes.
I just had a comment. I was listening to a talk today sometime this week, and they said that in Buddhist teaching that wisdom teaches us that we are nothing, but compassion teaches us that we are everything. So I kind of
Can't hear you.
Can you repeat it?
You want to repeat it so she...
I'd say the first part.
In Buddhist teaching, wisdom teaches us that we are nothing,
Yes,
and compassion teaches us that we are everything.
yes. Did you all hear that? Wisdom teaches, and actually, they're both true, aren't they? We have to have two wings of the Dharma, but otherwise we would fly around in circles. Okay, well, it's been lovely to meet all of you. This will be, I am a Buddhist, so, but this class is not a Buddhist class per se. It's going to be taught in a secular manner. And in fact, if you see me slipping into Buddhist language, literally, or, saying something like that, please call me on it, because we want to offer this to everyone, potentially. Okay? Okay, great. Lovely to meet all of you, and hopefully I'll see every one of you in October. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.
One thing I'll share about Rick that he was too modest to share is that he's either the founder or one of the founders of the Prison Meditation Project, which in San Diego has been going on for maybe like a dozen years. And he's been going into the prison for the last 10 or 12 years, teaching meditation to prisoners. And he has just retired from that in order to do this course. And after he gets more momentum and maybe immediately after this particular class here finishes, he's going to try to take the class back into the prisons. So you're the guinea pigs for prisoners. Yeah. So I thought we would just close. You have a question?
I do. A thread that's come up a few times today and just has very impactful for me is when you mentioned even positive feelings are painful. The word I've heard you use, I think, and I've heard in the past, you have to detach. You have to detach from the positive and from the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, why are positive? What is it about the positive feelings that are so painful that we need to detach from it? Or is it the fear of losing the positive?
It's a really great question. I'm glad you asked it because it gives me a chance to clarify in case I was too short abbreviated in what I was saying before and left a misimpression, which it seems I have. Positive feelings are not painful. They're pleasurable. The pain comes from the clinging to the positive feelings. It's very difficult to have a positive feeling without wanting to have more of it or keep it going. And so when positive feelings come, unless you're mindful, you're going to slip into a state of clinging. And clinging is where the pain comes in. So the clinging is the same for positive feelings or negative feelings. It's in Pali, the language that Buddhist teachings were originally spoken in, there's one word that describes the reaching to hold on to and the pushing away. It's tanha. And it generally is translated as thirst. But it is meant to describe both the process of craving and the process of aversion, because it's the same pain. It's the not wanting things to change or the wanting things to change. Either way, there's a wanting. There's a wanting to be in control of your world, not being open to the natural flow that things progress with, which is there's positive, there's negative, there's neutral, things come, things go, they hang out for a while, then they disappear, they change. That's the way life actually is. But in our small minds, we think that we can somehow hold on to the things we like or keep the things we don't like at a safe enough distance that it doesn't impact us. And that effort to do that is futile, and it's frustrating, and it causes suffering. So there's nothing wrong with positive feelings. In fact, we had a class a few weeks ago where we talked specifically about cultivating joy. Joy is a great spiritual practice, just like compassion. You know, if you felt any kind of pleasantness, I certainly did, other people said they did, when you recalled your own kindness, that's a positive feeling. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you were bummed when Rick ended the exercise and then you went back to just mundane sitting here listening to talking, then in that moment, there was a moment of suffering. If you recognize that the positive feelings are there and that they're going to go and that there's no problem, you're good. And it's mindfulness that allows that recognition.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just sit and we'll do just one last closing meditation. And I'm going to share a little poem. So if you'd like to close your eyes and just find whatever best centers you in this moment. Maybe your breath, maybe your buttocks sitting, your hands touching, the gentle hum in the background. This poem is called Walking. To walk abroad is not with eyes, but thoughts, the fields to see and prize. Else may the silent feet, like logs of wood, move up and down and see no good, nor joy nor glory meet. Even carts and wheels their place do change, but cannot see, though very strange, the glory that is by. Dead puppets may move in the bright and glorious day, yet not behold the sky. And are not men then they more blind, who having eyes yet never find the bliss in which they move, like statues dead, they up and down are carried, yet never see nor love. To walk is by a thought to go, to move in spirit to and fro, to mind the good we see, to taste the sweet, observing all the things we meet, how choice and rich they be. To note the beauty of the day, and golden fields of corn survey. Admire each pretty flower with its sweet smell, to praise their maker and to tell the marks of his great power. To fly abroad like active bees among the hedges and the trees, to cull the dew that lies on every blade, from every blossom till we laid our minds as they their thighs. Observe those rich and glorious things, the rivers, meadows, woods, and springs, the fructifying sun, to note from far the rising of each twinkling star, for us his race to run. A little child these well perceives, who, tumbling in green grass and leaves, may rich as kings be thought, but there's a sight which perfect manhood may delight, to which we shall be brought. While in those pleasant paths we talk, 'tis that towards which at last we walk. For we may by degrees wisely proceed, pleasures of love and praise to heed, from viewing herbs and trees.